You ever walk into a room with something pure in your heart, only to be met with eyes that slice right through you? That was me last Sunday, standing awkwardly at the entrance of my cousin Emily's baby shower with a bow-wrapped, brand-new $500 stroller in my hands, and the feeling that I'd somehow made a huge mistake. My name's Colin, I'm 33, and I've learned over the years that family has a strange way of remembering only the version of you that suits their story. No matter what you do, no matter how much you grow, succeed, or quietly help behind the scenes, some people are just committed to painting you as the villain in their little soap opera. And let me tell you, mine deserve an Emmy. Now before you assume anything, I didn't show up to show off. I hate that kind of attention. But Emily and I were close once, like, built blanket forts and ate cookie dough behind Grandma's couch close. She's 2 years younger than me, and growing up, she was basically the little sister I never had. After her mom, my Aunt Denise, divorced Uncle Mark and moved 2 states over, things changed. We all got older, family visits thinned out, and the warmth between us slowly cooled to polite nods at holiday dinners. But when Emily got pregnant and moved back in with her mom, I saw it as a chance to reconnect. I'd been saving up for something meaningful, not flashy, but useful, and a stroller felt perfect. Not just any stroller, either. This one had rave reviews, built-in car seat, shock absorbers, all-terrain wheels. It looked like something Batman would use if he had a baby. I figured she'd appreciate it. No strings attached. No, look at me. Just a heartfelt gesture to someone I once loved like a sister. Apparently, that was too much. The moment I stepped through the door, the energy shifted. Conversations didn't stop, but they slowed. My cousin Laura looked me up and down with that tight-lipped smile that women in my family have mastered when they're silently judging you. My Uncle Derek raised his brows like he was watching something absurd unfold. Even Aunt Denise, who was seated at the head of the makeshift gift table with her glass of Prosecco, only nodded faintly when I greeted her. Nobody moved to take the stroller or thank me or even pretend to be excited. Instead, they just stared. I cleared my throat, trying to stay casual. Hey, where should I put this? Laura gestured vaguely toward the other gifts. Blankets, pastel gift bags, diaper boxes stacked neatly in a corner. I set the stroller down and stepped back, already regretting the whole thing. Maybe I'd overshot. Maybe I should have gotten a photo album or something basic off the registry. But I wasn't trying to outshine anyone, just trying to show I cared. Emily wasn't there yet, running late, apparently, so I found myself milling around, making small talk with people I hadn't seen in years. Most of it was surface level, stiff. Lots of so, still in tech, and did you fly in or drive? No one asked about my life. No one brought up the fact that I'd started my own company 2 years ago, that I'd finally gotten clean after a rough patch in my 20s, that I'd moved into a place of my own, gotten therapy, worked hard to rebuild. They didn't want that version of me. They wanted the old narrative. Colin, the screw-up. Colin, the one who missed Grandpa's funeral. Colin, the selfish one who abandoned the family, according to Aunt Denise. Never mind that I'd had a panic attack in the airport that day and couldn't get on the flight. Never mind that no one called to check in afterward. It was easier to believe I just didn't care. I was sipping my drink, cranberry soda, because I quit alcohol 3 years ago when I heard it. A voice like glass breaking in the next room. He's just trying to buy his way back into the family after what he did. It was Aunt Denise, whispering, but not low enough. What he did. Those 3 words landed like a slap. I didn't even know what they were referring to anymore. Was it the missed funeral? The fact that I stopped coming to Sunday dinners? Or the more recent secret, one I thought I'd taken to the grave? Because here's the thing. 6 months ago, I found out Emily had been rushed to the hospital. Complications with the pregnancy. I only heard through a friend of a friend who saw the ambulance and recognized her. No one in the family called me. I wasn't even on the group chat anymore. But when I found out she was okay but drowning in medical debt, I called the hospital myself. Quietly. Anonymously. Paid the bill using a fake name and a burner email. I didn't want praise. I just didn't want her worrying. And I thought, stupidly, that it might be a silent olive branch. Now here I was, being whispered about like some scheming outsider. I stared at Aunt Denise through the kitchen doorway as she sipped her drink and leaned into another aunt. My stomach clenched. By my way back, I paid her daughter's hospital bill. I showed up with a gift most new moms would kill for. And somehow, I was still what he did. I gripped the plastic cup a little too tightly, feeling it bend in my hand. I didn't want to make a scene. I didn't come for drama. But in that moment, I realized something. No matter what I did, they'd already written my character out of the family script. Any kindness would be seen as manipulation. Any absence would be abandonment. And any attempt at connection? Just desperation. That's when I decided something else. If they wanted to act like I was some calculating outsider, fine. I'd show them exactly how calculating I could be. And I'd start with the receipt. I stood there, still gripping that flimsy plastic cup like it might anchor me to the moment, watching the way Aunt Denise's lips twisted around that whisper like it tasted sweet. Her voice, low, rehearsed, sharp, wasn't meant for me to hear, but it was loud enough to sting. And that's what really got to me. It wasn't just the words. It was the intention behind them. They wanted me to hear it. Or at least, they didn't care if I did. I stepped outside onto the patio to breathe, pretending to check my phone. I didn't even know who I could message. My contact list had shrunk significantly over the years. When you go through your lowest moments and start rebuilding from scratch, you realize how many people only like the version of you they could pity, gossip about, or control. It was warm out, unseasonably warm for March. The plastic folding table near the sliding door was sagging under trays of finger sandwiches, pink cupcakes, and those tiny bottles of sparkling lemonade with custom "It's a Girl" stickers slapped on them. I stared at the table like it had answers, like the ham and Swiss pinwheels were going to explain to me why, no matter how many steps forward I took, this family insisted on pulling me back to a version of myself that no longer existed. After a minute or two, I heard the door open behind me. Colin. It was Laura. Of course it was. I turned, offering a neutral smile. Hey, just wanted to say, that stroller was a bit much, don't you think? Her tone was syrupy, but the words sliced clean. I blinked. Too much. She shrugged, sipping her mimosa. I mean, it's sweet that you're trying, but it kind of made everyone else's gifts look, I don't know, small. I wasn't trying to make anyone look bad, I said, keeping my voice even. Sure. But it's not really about the stuff, you know? It's about showing up, being there, not disappearing for years, and then dropping $500 to make yourself feel better. I stared at her, stunned. You think that's what this is about? She tilted her head like a smug golden retriever. It's what people are saying. I let out a sharp breath, half laugh, half exhaustion. You mean Aunt Denise? I mean everyone. She leaned in slightly. You know, if you really want to make things right, it's going to take more than a fancy stroller. Make things right. That was the phrase they loved to use. As if I was the one who tore this family apart. As if I wasn't the kid who got sent to live with grandma at 15 when my parents couldn't deal anymore. As if I wasn't the one who took himself to therapy when no one else even noticed I was spiraling. I didn't come here to make things right, I said, sharper than I meant. I came to support Emily. Laura rolled her eyes. Right? Because you care so much about her. I do. Funny, you weren't at her baby announcement, or the gender reveal, or the first ultrasound party. But sure, let's pretend you're the doting big cousin. I stared at her, biting back every cruel thing I wanted to say. I'd learned the hard way that truth doesn't always win against narratives that feel better to believe. Eventually, she walked off, satisfied she'd enlightened me. I stood there another 10 minutes, not because I wanted to, but because I wasn't ready to go back inside. I needed to cool the anger bubbling under my skin. I kept thinking about that hospital bill, about the hours I spent on hold arguing with billing departments and transfer agents, about wiring the money from my savings account under a pseudonym so the debt would disappear without a trace. No thank you. No acknowledgement. Fine. I hadn't expected it. But the mockery? The whispering? The open judgment? That felt like betrayal. Emily arrived not long after that. She looked beautiful, glowing, a little tired. Pregnancy had softened her edges, and for a brief moment, seeing her made me forget the bitterness humming in the walls of that house. She lit up the second she stepped in, surrounded instantly by relatives cooing and gushing and swarming her like bees to honey. I waited for the crowd to thin before I approached. She hadn't seen me yet. Hey, Em. Her eyes found mine, and for a moment, a flicker of something, maybe joy, maybe nostalgia, flashed across her face. Colin, she said, pulling me into a gentle hug. You came. Of course I did. I wasn't sure. You know, with everything. I smiled, though it didn't quite reach my eyes. Wouldn't miss it. I saw the stroller. That's insane. You didn't have to. I wanted to. You deserve the best. She looked genuinely touched, and for a split second, I thought maybe, just maybe, this could be a turning point. Then Aunt Denise swooped in. Emily, sweetheart, don't exhaust yourself talking. Let's get you a seat. You're carrying precious cargo. She gave me a look like I'd just lit a cigarette near a gas station. I was just saying hi, I said, backing away. Hum, she murmured, already ushering Emily toward the armchair decorated with pink streamers and a tiara on the cushion. The gift opening began not long after. One by one, guests handed over their neatly wrapped presents, gushing about the sales they found, the registry items, the personalized blankets, and baby monitors. Every gift was met with squeals and gratitude. Then it came time for mine. Emily unfolded the note I had taped to the stroller's handle. I kept it simple. For you and your daughter. Hope this makes things a little easier. See, there was a long pause. People leaned in, expecting something dramatic. Emily blinked at the stroller, then at me. Colin, wow. I raised a hand, already feeling awkward. It's nothing. Aunt Denise let out a small huff that carried over the whole room. Well, I guess money can buy guilt, she muttered. Everyone heard it. Everyone. Emily froze. I felt the heat rise to my ears. Excuse me. Oh, please, she said, not even trying to lower her voice now. You think you can disappear for years, cause all that drama, and then waltz back in with a stroller and a smile? What drama? I asked, standing now. What exactly did I do, Denise? The room went still. All eyes on us. She gave me that same disapproving look I remembered from when I was 16 and got caught skipping school. You left. You didn't show up when your family needed you. You didn't come to your grandfather's funeral. You didn't call when Emily ended up in the hospital. I took a breath. You mean the hospital bill I paid? Silence. Her eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, swiping to the PDF of the receipt I kept saved. I hadn't planned to show it. But now I wanted them to see. The bill was $12,436. Emily didn't have insurance yet. You were trying to crowdsource it, remember? She was about to be sent to collections. Emily looked stunned. How do you know that? Because I paid it. Quietly. 6 months ago. Didn't tell anyone because I didn't want it to be about me. I turned the screen toward Denise. But since we're airing things out, the color drained from her face. No, she snapped. You're lying. I have the transaction ID. The hospital's billing department can verify it. Go ahead and call them. Emily stood, hand over her mouth. You paid that. Why? Because I care about you, Em. Even if no one else around here believes it. Aunt Denise sputtered. That doesn't change anything. You still abandoned this family. I finally snapped. No, Denise. You abandoned me. When I was 17 and trying not to fall apart, you told my mother I was a lost cause. You're the reason I stopped coming to family events. You're the reason I was cut out of every group chat, every invite, every update. I looked around. All of you decided who I was and stuck to it. Never once asked what was really going on. No one moved. Even Laura looked pale now. Emily stepped toward me. Colin, I didn't know. I know you didn't. That's why I never said anything. I didn't want you to feel guilty. I just wanted you to be okay. She blinked back tears. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. And then, Aunt Denise muttered something under her breath, so quietly I almost missed it. Well, it's not like you earned that money honestly anyway. That was it. That was the moment. The moment everything in me shifted. Because that lie, that little poison seed, I knew exactly where it came from. And I also knew exactly how to kill it. Loudly, publicly, and with receipts they'd never forget. But I wasn't going to do it there. No. If they wanted a spectacle, I'd give them one. At the next family event. And this time, they'd all be invited. Starting with Aunt Denise. And ending with a PowerPoint presentation they'd never see coming. After that baby shower imploded like a soap opera mid-season finale, I left without another word. No goodbyes, no forced hugs, no awkward, we'll talk soon, promises that everyone knew were lies. I just walked out. Quietly. Calmly. Stroller still sitting there like a forgotten centerpiece while half the room sat frozen in uncomfortable silence, and the other half pretended to scroll through their phones like they weren't loving every second of the drama. That was the last time I spoke to most of them. The drive home was a blur. Just me, the hum of the road, and the white-hot cocktail of anger, shame, and betrayal stirring in my chest. I remember pulling into the parking garage beneath my apartment complex and just sitting in the car for a while, keys still in the ignition, engine idling. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't punch the steering wheel like some dramatic movie character. I just sat there, numb. It was a strange kind of pain. Not the sharp, explosive kind, but the dull, persistent ache of being misunderstood for so long that you start to wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you really are the villain. Maybe you're not as changed as you thought. Maybe no amount of therapy, stability, or progress will ever outshine the shadow they cast over you. That night, I didn't sleep. Not even a little. I laid on my back in the dark, phone buzzing with half-hearted "you okay?" texts from a few extended relatives who'd probably just wanted the inside scoop. I ignored them. I ignored everything. For 3 days, I ghosted the world. Didn't go to work. Didn't answer emails. Skipped my Thursday night group meeting, which I hadn't missed in over a year. I just curled inward, back into that familiar spiral I thought I'd outgrown. The one that tells you your efforts don't matter. That even your best intentions will be twisted. That no matter how much you give, you'll always be the screw-up in their eyes. But then, something shifted. It was Friday afternoon. I was still lying on the couch, unshowered, half-eaten takeout on the coffee table, when my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a nosy relative. It was a Venmo notification. $12,436. From Emily. No note. Just the payment. At first, I thought it was a glitch. Or a mistake. Or maybe even a cruel joke. But when I opened the app, I saw it clear as day. Full payment. Transferred from her verified account. I stared at it for a long time. Then, finally, I messaged her. "Me, why did you do that?" She replied almost instantly. "Emily, because I should have had your back in that room. And I didn't. I let them talk about you like you weren't the one who saved me when I needed it most. I can't undo that. But I can stop pretending it's okay." I didn't know what to say. I still don't. But in that moment, something cracked open. A little pocket of air in the suffocating silence I'd wrapped myself in. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I thought. That weekend, I shaved, showered, opened my blinds, cleaned the apartment like it owed me rent. I even went to the Saturday morning AA-style meeting I'd skipped the week before, where a guy named Mateo, who'd been sober for 4 months, spoke about radical acceptance and how he stopped chasing apologies from people who couldn't even acknowledge their own damage. I sat in the back, nodding like a bobblehead, because yeah, that hit. The following Monday, I went back to work. My assistant, Jade, gave me a look when I walked in, like she didn't quite believe I was there. "Thought you fell off the face of the earth," she said, handing me my coffee. "I did," I replied. But the earth was overrated anyway. That made her laugh. First laugh I'd heard in a week. Work was good for me. I'd forgotten that. I run a boutique tech firm, small team, tight focus, mostly UX design for startups and nonprofits. It wasn't sexy or flashy, but it paid well, and more importantly, it gave me something to build that didn't require anyone's approval. I started throwing myself into it. 12-hour days. New client pitches. Rebuilding our outdated brand materials. I wasn't doing it to prove anything. I just needed to remind myself that I was good at something. That I had value beyond my family's warped version of me. And slowly, things got better. My mornings became routine again. Wake up at 6:30. Walk to the coffee shop down the block. Same barista, same stupid pun on the tip jar. Back home by 7:15. Gym by 8. Work by 9. It was quiet, structured, peaceful. The kind of life I used to dream about when I was 23, broke, hungover, and dodging debt collectors. I started sleeping again. Real sleep. Not the kind where your brain chews on shame all night like a dog with a bone. But deep, clean rest. I read books. Took up sketching again. Downloaded Duolingo for no reason and got through 30 days of terrible Spanish. Just little things. But they added up. One night, maybe a month after the shower, I was scrolling through old photos when I found a picture of me and Emily as kids. We were in Grandma's backyard, probably 7 and 9. She had grass stains on her knees, and I had a missing front tooth. We looked happy. I stared at that picture for a long time and realized something that nearly broke me. I wasn't trying to buy my way back into the family. I was trying to buy my way back into that moment. That version of us. But that moment was gone. And maybe that's okay. Not long after, Emily texted me again. "Emily, want to get lunch? Just us?" I said yes. We met at this little Thai place halfway between her apartment and mine. She was in her 3rd trimester by then, belly huge, face glowing, eyes tired but warm. It was the first time we'd really talked since everything went down. Over pad CEW and mango sticky rice, we finally cleared the air. I didn't know, she said softly. About everything. The therapy, the business, the sobriety. No one told me. Because they didn't want you to know, I replied. It's easier to keep me in the failure box. Makes everyone else feel more stable by comparison. She nodded. That's what Mom does. She builds this narrative. Like, if she admits someone changed, then she has to admit she was wrong about them. And she hates being wrong. I didn't say anything. Didn't have to. Emily reached into her purse and pulled out a thick manila envelope. What's this? She slid it across the table. Prenatal insurance. Hospital forms. Birth plan. All the stuff I didn't understand the first time around. I raised an eyebrow. Why are you giving this to me? Because I want you to be her emergency contact. I froze. She has a dad, I said. Barely, she replied. And I trust you more. That's when I lost it. Not dramatically. Not with sobs and Kleenex. Just quiet tears that slipped out before I could stop them. Because after everything, someone trusted me. Not because I paid a bill. Not because I showed up with a stroller. But because I showed up. Period. That night, I walked home feeling lighter than I had in years. I didn't need a family that only loved the broken version of me. I could build something new. Something stronger. Something real. And while they were busy whispering in kitchens and crafting stories that made them feel better about their own failures, I was doing something far more dangerous. I was healing. I was building. And I wasn't done. Because if Aunt Denise wanted to keep pushing that tired lie, that I didn't earn my success, that I was shady, manipulative, selfish, then maybe it was time to show her exactly what I'd built while she was busy gossiping. And this time, I wasn't going to be quiet about it. I had something planned. Something big. I just needed the right moment. And that moment was coming sooner than they thought. There's a particular kind of peace that comes after you've made a decision, not out of rage or desperation, but with clarity. Cold, clear, deliberate. That's what I felt the morning I got the invitation. It was a glossy, over-the-top monstrosity of an envelope. Pale pink. Embossed lettering. Gold trim. Even the stamp looked expensive, like it belonged on royal correspondence, not something announcing a backyard baby celebration. At first, I thought it was another invite to one of Emily's pre-birth events. But when I opened it, I nearly laughed. Aunt Denise was throwing herself a grandmother-to-be gala. Not a shower. Not a brunch. A gala. There it was, in cursive font so ornate it was nearly illegible. Join us for an elegant evening celebrating Denise Hartley, as she prepares to welcome her first grandchild into the world. It listed a venue, a private hall rental in the upscale part of town, the same place they'd held my cousin Laura's engagement party years ago. Formal dress code. Plated dinner. Champagne toast. No children, no plus ones unless approved. At the bottom, in smaller print, this is a family event. Out of respect, please refrain from bringing any outside guests or discussing sensitive family matters. I sat at my desk, turning the card over in my hand, trying to wrap my head around it. Of course, Denise would make her daughter's pregnancy about her. But it wasn't just the narcissism that got to me. It was the hypocrisy. The same woman who'd whispered that I was trying to buy my way back into the family was now throwing herself a borderline red carpet event, paid for by the same people she looked down on for being materialistic. I should have tossed it. I should have rolled my eyes and deleted the date from my calendar. But instead, I smiled. Because this was the opportunity one didn't know I'd been waiting for. A hall full of relatives. A captive audience. A celebration designed entirely around Aunt Denise's ego. And me, invited. Officially. On the guest list. It was perfect. Now, I'm not a vengeful person by default. A few years ago, I probably would have let this go. Ignored the invite, stayed in my lane, and kept building my life quietly. But there's a particular cruelty in being painted as the villain while you're doing everything you can to change. And the worst part? They didn't even need to smear me to protect themselves. They just did it because it was easier. So no, I wasn't going to stay quiet this time. But I wasn't going to raise my voice, either. I was going to raise the mirror. The first thing I did was call Emily. She didn't answer at first, probably at a checkup or asleep. But she texted back later that night. Emily, saw the invite. Gross, right? Me, beyond. But hey, do you think she'll give a speech? Emily, she's been practicing one in the mirror every day for 2 weeks. Me, perfect. Then we'll give her a little intermission. The next piece of the puzzle was Nate. Nate and I go way back. College roommates, startup co-founders, friends through every version of me. He's the kind of guy who wears hoodies to board meetings and once pitched a major app redesign in socks because he forgot his shoes. Brilliant. Loyal. A little chaotic. I invited him over under the pretense of catching up, but as soon as I laid out the situation, he was all in. So, he said, spinning his laptop around. We're doing a presentation. At the gala. About your evil aunt. Not about her. I corrected. About me. About what actually happened. About everything they've conveniently rewritten. And we're doing this when? During her speech. He grinned like a kid handed a box of fireworks. I'm gonna need a clicker, a projector, and at least 3 backup USBs. Done. Over the next 2 weeks, we got to work. The PowerPoint started simple. Clean black slides, white font. No animation. No drama. Just facts. Dates. Receipts. Photos. Screenshots. Bank transfers. Side-by-side comparisons of rumors and truth. I didn't want to humiliate Denise, not at first. I just wanted the record corrected. I wanted people to see how easily they'd bought a lie and how much it had cost the person they were supposed to care about. Nate was ruthless. We're not doing this halfway, he said. If you're stepping into the spotlight, you better own the whole damn stage. He added a slide titled Narratives They Sold You, followed by another called What Actually Happened. I gave him the details, my teen years, the therapy, the debt, the rehab, the business launch, the charity donations no one knew about. He fact-checked everything, even pulled up old emails to cross-reference dates. Emily contributed too. She sent a screenshot of her payment to me with the note, for the bill he paid before anyone else even knew I needed help. She also offered to speak at the event. Just 5 minutes, she said. Let me stand up before the video. Let me say something. You sure? I'm overdue, she said. You're not the only one they've painted with the wrong brush. The week of the gala, I sent Denise an email. Hi, Denise. Just confirming I'll be attending the event this Saturday. Thank you for the invitation. I'll be bringing a short presentation about family legacy and truth. I think it'll really resonate. Looking forward to it. Colin. She didn't respond. But the message read, Receipt gave me all the confirmation I needed. The day of the event, I arrived early. The venue was ridiculous. Crystal chandeliers. White marble floors. A 6-piece string quartet playing Taylor Swift covers like it was a royal wedding. The guest of honor had her own chair wrapped in pink silk with a golden balloon arch behind it, and a table of framed photos of her and Emily through the years, noticeably none featuring me. I wore a black suit. Simple, sharp. Emily said I looked like revenge in human form. Nate came too, posing as my tech assistant and wearing a staff lanyard he made himself that just said AV Overlord. As the guests began to pour in, relatives I hadn't seen in years, family friends who still thought I lived in my car, second cousins who once blocked me on Facebook after Denise's smear campaign, I felt surprisingly calm. Like I wasn't walking into enemy territory, but into my house. One they'd been squatting in long enough. Dinner was served. Wine poured. Toast made. Then Denise stood up. She clinked her glass and tapped her note cards with a smug smile. If I could have everyone's attention. That was the cue. Emily rose before her. Actually, before we hear from my mom, I'd like to say a few words. Denise froze mid-sentence. Her smile didn't falter, but her eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, flashed something I hadn't seen before. Fear. And when Emily finished, when she stepped aside and looked at me with a small nod, I stood up and walked toward the podium. Nate fired up the projector. The lights dimmed. The title slide appeared. The Truth They Never Told You. I adjusted the mic. And then I took a breath. Everything was ready. They thought they knew me. They were about to learn who I really was. The room was dead silent. All eyes were on me, and I could feel the tension ripple through the hall like a current. The string quartet had stopped mid-song. Glasses hovered in midair. Aunt Denise was still frozen, standing at the podium with her note cards in hand, her jaw visibly clenched. I clicked to the next slide. On the screen appeared a photo, me and Emily as kids, in the backyard of our grandparents' house, smiling through missing teeth and muddy knees. The caption read, Family isn't just blood. It's who stands up for you when everyone else walks away. I stepped up to the mic. I wasn't always the best version of myself. I began. I've made mistakes. I've disappeared when I should have shown up. But what I haven't done, what I've never done, is stop caring. The next slide appeared, a scan of the $12,436 medical bill from the hospital. Emily's name in bold. Beneath it, my anonymous payment confirmation, timestamped. This, I said, tapping the slide, was 6 months ago. Emily was in the hospital. Complications. No insurance. No coverage. And no support, except from a friend of a friend who happened to call me, thinking I already knew. I didn't, because I wasn't on the group chat anymore, because I'd been quietly erased from this family's memory. I let that hang in the air, but I paid it, not because I wanted credit, not because I wanted to prove anything. I did it because Emily mattered to me, because I remembered who she was when we were kids, when we used to make up games about dragon attacks and jump off the porch with cardboard wings. Laughter, nervous but real, bubbled from somewhere in the back, and I kept it quiet until I heard this. I clicked again. A short, 15-second audio clip played from the speakers. Nate had enhanced it so it was crystal clear. Aunt Denise's voice. He's just trying to buy his way back into the family after what he did. There were audible gasps. I watched several heads whip toward Denise, whose face was now a shade of red I'd never seen before, somewhere between fury and shame. Another click. A new slide appeared. What I did. Missed one funeral due to a panic attack. Got clean without support. Started my own company. Paid Emily's hospital bill in full. Donated over $50,000 to addiction recovery programs. Got therapy. Stayed silent until now. I'm not sharing this for applause. I'm sharing it because for the last decade, I've been painted as the villain, the addict, the failure, the one who abandoned the family. But let me ask you something. How can you abandon something that never made space for you to begin with? You could have heard a pin drop, and I know some of you believe the lies. It's easier that way. It's easier to think I disappeared because I didn't care than to admit maybe, just maybe, I wasn't safe around people who only loved me when I was broken. I turned slightly to face Denise. And as for you, I clicked one final time. On the screen was a chart. 2 columns. What Aunt Denise said about me. He doesn't care about family. He's probably doing something shady. He's always been manipulative. Reality. I sent birthday cards every year, even when no one replied. I donated in her name to a children's hospital. I paid for her daughter's care without telling anyone. I showed up today. I didn't want revenge, I said. But I do want the truth. And I want my name back. Then I stepped away. Emily stood, walked to the center of the room, and took the mic from me like it had been choreographed. I want to say something, too, she said, her voice shaking. My mom has told a lot of stories about Colin over the years. I believed most of them, but not anymore. She turned toward Denise, but her tone was calm, measured. You try to make this pregnancy about you. You try to make my baby shower about your grudge. You whispered about Colin instead of asking him for help, even when he was the one who saved me. I'm done pretending that's okay. Denise opened her mouth to speak, but Emily cut her off. Don't. You had your chance. She turned back to the room. For the record, Colin's not just my cousin. He's my emergency contact. He's going to be the first one I call when my daughter is born. Because unlike most of you, he actually shows up. Applause broke out. Not huge or overwhelming, but real. Earnest. A few people even stood. Aunt Denise looked around like she'd just realized the room was no longer hers. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. For a moment, she looked small, exposed, like the reality had finally settled and that the power she wielded through manipulation and whispers was gone. She stormed out a few minutes later, not saying a word. No one followed. The rest of the night was a blur of hugs, apologies, and tentative reconnections. Laura came up to me, cheeks flushed. I didn't know, she said quietly. I'm sorry. I know you didn't, I replied. That's the problem. Some cousins shook my hand. A few older relatives confessed they hadn't known what to believe, but were glad I spoke up. Emily hugged me twice before she left. Nate fist bumped me like we'd just won an Oscar. And me? I went home lighter than I'd ever felt. Not because I won, but because I was free. The fallout came quickly. Aunt Denise tried to spin the story afterward, of course. Claimed she'd been set up, that I ambushed her at her own event. But the audio was already circulating in the family group chats. The screenshots, the photos, the receipts. For once, the evidence drowned out the excuses. She lost her standing, her credibility. The weekly brunches at her house slowly dwindled to nothing. Even Laura stopped defending her publicly. She didn't speak to me again. But she did send Emily a message 2 weeks after the gala. Maybe you'll understand when your daughter grows up and betrays you too. Emily sent her a single reply, a photo of her new daughter, born the week before. No caption, just the image of a baby held in my arms. She didn't need to say anything else. Life moved on. Emily named her daughter Hope. She said it was about reclaiming something that had been missing for too long. I still see them every week, sometimes more. I'm Uncle Colin now, officially. And when Hope takes her first steps, I'll be there. When she starts school, I'll be there. When she gets her heart broken, when she graduates, when she figures out who she is, I'll be there. And I'll never let her believe that silence means guilt. That cruelty is strength. That family gets to hurt you without consequence just because they share your blood. Because that's the lie I was raised on. And I'm done living in it. I got my name back. And I'll never give it away again.